Hi, I'm Dave Hughes and welcome to my shop. Today I want to show you a brand new tool from Carter Products called the miter mill. And the miter mill is really going to help us improve performance with our bandsaw as well as safety on the bandsaw. Let me show you a common problem that most of you guys have. If you're like me, you like to utilize raw lumber and be able to turn it into projects. In this case, I've got a small stump here that I cut off from a tree. It's not a very square cut on there, and what I need to do is clean up these ends and get it prepped so I can actually mill it down. The challenge with trying to clean up these ends of this log is that it wants to roll on the bandsaw. Now the force that bandsaw blade is straight down, which means it pulls it back up into the blade, and you can end up having a catch, snapping a blade, or injuring yourself. So let me show you this brand new product that Carter has to solve that issue on the bandsaw. It's called the miter mill. And what makes this tool so unique is that it works within your miter slot. It has an adjustable miter gauge bar on the bottom side here that we can position it depending upon your saw to allow us to work just like a miter gauge on the saw and give us that nice square cut. But what makes it different than a miter gauge is that it's got this V-tooth jaw that grabs a hold of that log and prevents it from rolling and allows us very easy, smooth control past that blade to end up with a square cut. Now the front jaw here is adjustable so that we can move it back and forth depending upon the log that we're trying to mill, as well as you'll notice that this log has got a little bit of odd shape to it. We can actually twist that front jaw to accommodate the variations in that log so we end up with that nice square cut. So let me show you how it works. We drop it down in our miter slot. I've adjusted the jaws for the diameter of this log, and we set our log down inside there, and I'm going to go ahead and trim off about a 3/4 inch slice to square up the end on here. Now you can see how that doesn't roll anymore. It's nice and solid, and we're ready to make our cut. And that's how easy it is to end up with a nice square cut, a finished cut that will allow me then to come back on the bandsaw and either trim it or put it into our miter mill or log mill and cut this lengthwise and actually make lumber stock out of it. Now recently down here in Georgia, we've had some storms, and the storms knocked down a lot of trees. And I was going through my neighborhood and I noticed this birch tree that had gotten knocked down, and I had asked my neighbor if I can have some of the logs, and he said sure, absolutely. And there's nothing like getting some material for free that you can do something with. But again, I used a chainsaw to quick cut off these small pieces of this birch, which doesn't give me a nice square cut to work with. So I'm going to use my miter mill here to square up these ends and make a very simple project. What we're actually making is these little canavotas. It's a very simple project, but you need to be able to cut these ends nice and square. And that's where the miter mill really came in handy to be able to do something like this. Now what I've used the miter mill for is squaring up these pieces so they're nice and true, and then I use a Forstner bit to drill out the center and drop a canavota inside of it just like that. You can pick these up for about $1 at your local Dollar General store. Makes it very simple, very easy gift to make for Christmas, and the miter mill makes it incredibly safe to do. So the first thing that we need to do when milling this log is to adjust the front jaw. So we're going to go ahead and loosen that up, and the jaw just slides back and forth. We're going to pull that up front. We're going to drop it in. Now the key to this is that you want to be able to have that log almost set on the base of the miter mill, but not quite touching it, so it allows those teeth to really engage. So we're going to open up that jaw until we sit down in there. And you notice there's a big knot on this one, so I'm going to rotate that log around so I can sit in there in the best position, which is right about there. We're going to go ahead and adjust and tighten up those knobs, secure them into place. There is a third jaw on the inside. If we're doing really short pieces, we can move that down closer, or we can move it further apart for the really long pieces. I'm all set, and we're ready to go ahead and make our cut. We drop that down inside. You'll see how those teeth really hold on to that. And let's go ahead and make our cut. Nice and square. Now we're ready to make our first length. I'm going to move that out, and we're going to make one about 3 inches long. And go ahead and cut that. Now all we have left to do is drill that hole for that candle voda. But you'll notice here, we've got a nice, perfectly flat bottom, nice and square, top to bottom. And that's what the miter mill does for you. Now that you've seen the miter mill, let me show you another product that helps improve the performance of your bandsaw. A lot of bandsaws out there have a very small working surface. When you're working on those bigger projects, or that you need to mill a large log or mill, how do you support that on that smaller table? Well, this product here is called the Super Wide Miter Guide, and what it's designed to do is improve the distance or the size of your table for whatever jig or fixture that you're trying to use on it. It is 36 inches long. It has a grooved surface to cut down on the friction to allow things to slide nice and smooth. It fits into the actual miter slot of your existing bandsaw table, and then it gives you that bandsaw miter slot at the same location of your original table. That way we can use just about any jig or fixture in that miter slot. It also has a front and back leg support to take the weight off that table, so it doesn't matter if that project or that log you throw up here to mill weighs 50 pounds, you've got that additional support on either side. If we wanted to put our miter mill into that groove, all we do is just drop it down to that same exact miter slot, and you can see how much distance now we have to control for those different projects that we're working on. If you've built some homemade jigs that are designed to mill logs, it extends that table and gives you the safety and performance that you need out of your bandsaw. I'm sure that if you decide to pick up the miter mill or the extra wide miter guide, it will make a huge difference in the performance and safety use of your bandsaw. I'm Dave Hughes, and thanks for watching.